The Gods and the People by Voltairine de Cleyre. Read for LibriVox.org. What have you done, O skies, that the millions should kneel to you? Why should they lift wet eyes grateful with human dew? Why should they clasp their hands and bow at thy shrines, O heaven, thanking thy high commands for the mercies that thou hast given? What have those mercies been, O thou who art called the good, who trod through a world of sin and stood where the felon stood? What is that wondrous peace vouchsafed to the child of dust, for whom all doubt shall cease in the light of thy perfect trust? How hast thou heard their prayers smoking up from the bleeding sod, who, crushed by their weight of cares, cried up to thee, Most High God? Where the swamps of humanity sicken, read the answer in dumb white scars. You, skies, gave the sore and stricken the light of your far-off stars. The children who plead are driven, shelterless through the street, receiving the mercy of heaven, hard frozen in glittering sleet. The women who prayed for pity, who called on the saving name, through the walks of your merciless city are crying the rent of shame. The starving, who gazed till the plenty in which they might not share, have died in their hunger, rent by the anguish of unheard prayer. The weary, who plead for remission, for a moment only release, have sunk with unheeded petition, this the Christ-pledged peace. These are the mercies of heaven, these are the answer of God to the prayers of the agony shriven from the paths where the millions plod. The silent scorn of the sightless, the callous ear of the deaf, the wrath of might to the mightless, the shroud and the mourning sheaf. Light to behold their squalor, breath to draw in life's pain, voices to plead and call for heaven's help, hearts tip bleed in vain. What have you done, O Church, that the weary should bless your name, should come with faith's holy torch to light up your altered fane? Why should they kiss the folds of the garment of your high priest, or bow to the chalice that holds the wine of your sacred feast? Have you blown out the breath of their sighs? Have you strengthened the weak, the ill? Have you wiped the dark tears from their eyes, and bade their sobbing be still? Have you touched, have you known, have you felt, have you bent and softly smiled in the face of the woman who dealt in lewdness to feed her child? Have you heard the cry in the night going up from the outraged heart, masked from the social sight by the cloak that but angered the smart? Have you heard the children's moan, by the light of the skies denied? Answer, O walls of stone, in the name of your crucified. Out of the clay of their heartbreak, from the red dew of its sod, you have mortared your bricks for Christ's sake, and reared a palace to God. Your painters have dipped their brushes in the tears and the blood of the race, whom, living, your dark frown crushes, and limbed a dead Saviour's face. Ye have seized, in the name of God, the child's crust from famine's dole. You have taken the price of its body, and sung a mass for its soul. You have smiled on the man who, deceiving, paid exemption to ease your wrath. You have cursed the poor fool who believed him, though her body lay prone in your path. You have laid the seal on the lip, you have bade us to be content, to bow neath our Master's whip, and give thanks for the scourge, heaven sent. These, O Church, are your thanks. These are the fruits without flaw that flow from the chosen ranks who keep in your perfect law. Doors hard locked on the homeless, stained glass windows for bread, on the living the law of dumbness, and the law of need for the dead. Better the dead who, not needing, go down to the vaults of the earth, than the living whose hearts lie bleeding, crushed by you at their very birth. What have you done, O state, that the toilers should shout your ways, should light up the fires of their hate, if a traitor should dare dispraise? How do you guard the trust that the people repose in you? Do you keep to the law of the just and hold to the changeless true? What do you mean when you say, the home of the free and brave? How free are your people, pray? Have you no such thing as a slave? What are the lauded rights, broad-sealed by your sovereign grace? What are the love-feeding sights you yield to your subject race? The rights? Ah, the right to toil, that another, idle, may reap. The right to make fruitful the soil, and a meager pittance to keep. The right of a woman to own her body spotlessly pure, and starve in the street, alone. The right of the wronged to endure. The right of the slave to its yoke. The right of the hungry to pray. The right of the toiler to vote for the master who buys his day. You have sold the sun and the air. You have dealt in the price of blood. You have taken the lion's share, while the lion is fierce for food. You have laid the load of the strong on the helpless, the young, and the weak. You have trod out the purple of wrong. Beware where its wrath shall wreak. Let the voice of the people be heard. Oh, you strangled it with your rope, denied the last dying word, while your trap and your gallows spoke. But 1,000 voices rise where the words of the martyr fell. The seed springs fast to the skies, watered deep from that bloody well. Hark! Low down you will hear the storm in the underground. Listen, tyrants, and fear. Quake at that muffled sound. Heavens that mocked our dust, smile on in your pitiless blue. Silent as you are to us, so silent are we to you. Churches that scourged our brains, priests that locked fast our hands, we planted the torch in your chains, now gather the burning brands. States that have given us law, when we asked for the right to earn bread, the sword that Damocles saw by a hair swings over your head. What ye have sown ye shall reap, teardrops and blood and hate. Gaunt gather before your seat, and knock at your palace gate. There are murderers on your thrones, there are thieves in your justice halls. White leprosy cancers their stones, and gnaws at their worm-eaten walls. And the hand of Belshazzar's feast writes over in flaming light Thought's kingdom no more to the priest, nor the law of right to the might. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.